Okay, so we're a few minutes after, so I'm just going to start it now. Good morning, New Jersey STIC members and friends. For those who don't know me, I'm Brandy Sullivan. I'm NJDOT's Innovation Coordinator, and thank you and welcome. Thanks for joining us for our first quarterly meeting of 2023. You're welcome to turn your cameras on and show your faces. Just mute yourself unless you're speaking. And we will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to just pop them in there. Okay, now to kick things off, I'd like to welcome our Assistant Commissioner, Mike Russo.
Thanks, Brandy. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first quarterly STIC of 2023. Thanks for joining us. And once again, thank you for your contributions and your participation. Because of you, we are a nationally recognized STIC and a leader in STIC Council. So thank you for that. Our meeting today will focus on FHWA's 7th round of the Everyday Counts program. Our CIA team leaders will continue the conversations about the 6 EDC-7 initiatives that the New Jersey STIC will be championing. These conversations began at our EDC-7 New Jersey Caucus last month, which Amanda will go over a little bit later. Following this morning's breakout sessions, we will have a feature presentation on New Jersey's approach to implementing the EDC-7 initiative of nighttime visibility for safety. Our presenters include Managing Director Leanne Von Hagen and Project Coordinator Greg Waltman from the Voorhees Transportation Center at Rutgers. They will be taking a few minutes and talk about enhancing nighttime visibility of pedestrians and bicyclists. They will be summarizing past work that identified challenges in improving nighttime safety for vulnerable road users and discussing their new research, which will produce a pedestrian scale lighting design resource for municipal planners and engineers. We also have Supervising Engineer Sharu Jagan and Project Engineer Andrei Terentiev from NJDOT's Bureau of Traffic Engineering, who will talk about the various practices and standards employed by NJDOT to enhance nighttime visibility at intersections and crosswalks for pedestrians and motorists alike. So please join me in welcoming our guest speakers today. Next slide, I believe, is, and now for something new. I'd like to welcome our new CIA team to our New Jersey STIC. As a show of continued support for FHWA's EDC program, we have created a 5th core innovation area team called Planning and Environment. This new team will handle the EDC-7 initiatives of integrating greenhouse gas assessment and reduction targets in transportation planning, as well as environmental product declarations, EPDs, for sustainable project delivery. Our CIA team leads will be Andy Swords, Director of Statewide Planning here at DOT, and Sutapa Bandyopadhyay, Planning and Program Development Manager at FHWA's Division Office. So please join me in welcoming Andy and Sutapa to their new roles at the NJ STIC. Next, a big thank you for Helene Roberts. So if you heard the chat at the beginning of this meeting, Helene's going to be retiring come April. I want to take a few minutes to thank her. She's been a fantastic friend and colleague, has provided years of service, not just to FHWA, but some of you may know that she has good roots. She also began her career here at NJDOT. So I want to thank her for her guidance and her support of Everyday Counts from the very beginning. She's been with this program since the beginning. She's been a major contributor, and all of our successes, I don't think, would have been as easy without her help. In addition, we have a guest speaker that I'd like to turn this over to. Robert Clark, Division Administrator of FHWA, I believe would like to also say a few words. Robert, are you out there?
Yeah, I'm right here, Mike. Welcome, you guys, to the first meeting. What I really wanted to do, Helene, is I wanted to thank you in front of everybody. You are our office superstar. I tell her that every day. What you guys don't realize, you see what she does in New Jersey, but what you don't realize is everything she does nationally. Helene is also our pavement and materials engineer, along with our PMA. This year, she won the PMA of the Year award nationally. She also won Pavement Material Engineer Award nationally. So that just goes to show she doesn't just do things for New Jersey. She talks us up, but she is very corporate. And I want to thank you for that, Helene. You've shined a bright light on us since the day I stepped in. There's the adage that everybody can be replaced. You can't. And I don't know what I'm going to do without you. So if you were here, I'd hug your neck and risk the sexual misconduct just because you deserve it. So thank you for everything you've done. I know you still have a month together, but I wanted to take this opportunity in this forum just to let people know what a outstanding person and employee and member of Federal Highway that you have been and are. So thank you.
That's really nice. A very big surprise. Thank you, Mike and Robert. I don't have my STIC Excellence. I have this old STIC award. You can't see it because it's clear. But I don't have my STIC Excellence award because that's at home and I'm in the office. So I was gonna show that, proudly display. You could see it in the picture, but of course you can't see it. But anyway, thank you so much. That's really nice of both of you. I really appreciate that. Thanks.
And this just shows quickly the 10 years plus of EDC and STIC and all of the accomplishments that we've had. Helene, you just we're holding up the Excellence Award. That's the second of 2 Excellence Awards that we have received, in large part to your contributions. I think I said it earlier, you've been, if anything, persistent in your championship of EDC and STIC. I've told this story before, but I remember sitting in your Federal Highway conference room with just me, you, and one other person, Mary Amin, in a snowstorm at one of the very early EDC meetings. We've come a long way. You've helped us bring this a long way. And I want to thank you for your persistence and your belief in the value of EDC and STIC. So thank you for that. As I said, we've accomplished a lot, and a large part of that is in thanks to you. So thank you, Helene. We're going to miss you. With that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Helene, I believe, for the Federal Highway updates.
Hey, I am supposed to talk about the closing out of EDC-6. So we closed out EDC-6 in January. We had our final report. And I'm going to give you just an overview of what happened. That's it. Just what happened with the initiatives and where we were at the end. So we had 3 initiatives institutionalized: crowdsourcing, TOPS, which is targeted overlay pavement solutions, and virtual public involvement were institutionalized. 4 initiatives did not advance at all in implementation stage, although I do have to say great progress was made in most of these initiatives over the 2-year period. Those were e-ticketing, Next Gen TIM, which I still don't believe that it didn't advance because we're a national leader, strategic workforce development, and ultra high performance concrete for bridge preservation and repair. Those didn't advance in implementation stage, although things happened for sure. Digital as-built advanced in stages to the development stage, but the goal of demonstration was not achieved. Again, all of these initiatives were worked on during the 2-year period, and they can and will continue to be worked on. Just because EDC-6 is over does not mean we stop. We keep going and implementing things. Next, I am talking about the EDC-7 Summit. I hope you were all able to attend the summit, at least portions of it. I hope most of you, if not all of you, were there for part of it. If not, it's available on demand for 1 year. You need to register. If you were at the meeting in time, I put the link to the summit virtual recordings in the chat, so look for that. You do have to register, no big deal. I'm sure you've registered for things before. I was mostly at the environmental product declaration sessions, and there were many breakouts associated with, I think, each of the initiatives, but I spent my time at environmental product declarations because that was most applicable to what I do in pavements. And if you got a chance to see it, you saw our own Sal Cowan presenting on some of the innovative things New Jersey's doing in the Next Gen TIM national session. Sal talked about, and I went back and looked at it. I did see it, Sal, but I went back and looked at it again to make sure I didn't miss anything. Various advanced warning technologies being used in New Jersey, like DriveWise, LED flares, light towers mounted on incident response vehicles, and that's pretty much what he covered, but some innovative stuff happening there. So I'm sure this round will be institutionalized with that. And also, I hope you caught it, Ted Ritter from NJTPA and Jackie Davis from DVRPC presented at the National STIC Network Showcase on VPI. I did not get to see this presentation live, but I can vouch for that the recordings work because I went back and looked at it today, and it was excellent. And they presented a ton of information in the 3 minutes they had each to present it. So you can go back in and take a look at that if you missed it. Very informative what they're doing there with reaching out to their constituents. Very, very informative. Okay, and I hit the highlights. I wasn't going to go over the facts. There were thousands of people registered for the thing, and so I'm sure it was, hopefully you guys were all there, or you'll get a chance to go in and look at the presentations that are of interest to you now. And now I am turning it over to Amanda. Amanda, you are up.
Okay, thank you, Helene, and congratulations on your retirement. You will definitely be missed. Okay, so in order to capture the knowledge that was shared during that national summit and expand on its momentum, the executive team of New Jersey STIC hosted the New Jersey Caucus, which is the second of its kind. The first caucus, if you remember, was held back in 2021 when we kicked off the 6th round of EDC. And we had a lot of success with that event, so we wanted to repeat the process by gathering all the important players together to start EDC Round 7 off on the right foot. So many of you here today attended that New Jersey Caucus, so I want to give a big thank you for your support and dedication to New Jersey STIC. If you did attend, the team sent out a quick feedback form through email, and although we did receive a lot of verbal accolades after the event, we didn't get as many attendee responses as we would have liked. And that may be due to the form getting tied up in spam or junk. So I'm including the link right now in the chat to that survey. So for those of you who did attend, if you could please take a few minutes to fill out the survey today, we would really greatly appreciate your input. And it'll really help us in the future when we host another caucus. So while you're doing that, I wanted to share a recap of the New Jersey Caucus for those of you who did not get a chance to attend. And maybe this will act as sort of a refresher for those who did. So first, it was held using an online platform, and it included representatives from FHWA, NJDOT, the state's metropolitan planning organizations, local public agencies, and universities. There were 90 registrants and 78 individuals who attended all or some portion of the meeting. And welcoming and opening remarks were given by Mike Russo and Robert Clark, who you heard from earlier today. Mike and Robert described the purpose of the meeting, and then Brandy described the format of the meeting, which included breakout sessions and a plenary session. And the objectives of the New Jersey Caucus were to, 1, announce which innovations the New Jersey STIC leadership chose to pursue, Next, establish a baseline assessment and performance goals for the next 2 years. And finally, identify activities that can be taken by the implementation team to advance the implementation of those innovations. Now, this table shows all 5 of our CIA teams in the first column, their NJDOT and FHWA leads, and the 6 EDC-7 innovations that NJ STIC has chosen to pursue. So when registering for the caucus meeting, individuals were asked to choose which of the 6 EDC-7 initiatives that they wanted to focus on. And then each participant was then assigned to that initiative's breakout room. And once the breakout rooms were opened, a facilitator led the participants through a guidance document containing 5 questions. And each room had a designated note taker who recorded all the responses. And the first 2 questions asked the participants what the current and anticipated stage of deployment was for their organization. Next, the facilitator asked the participants to identify implementation activities, potential barriers, as well as any assistance that the implementation team might need in order to be successful. And then after the breakout sessions, participants reconvened in a plenary session during which the facilitators reported out on their group discussion. And a summary report of the caucus event was prepared and will be used by the CIA team leaders to inform a baseline report for each of the EDC-7 initiatives. And that baseline report is due to the FHWA in April 2023. Okay. And now I'm turning it back over to Brandy. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, for that recap. It was a really great event, and thanks to everyone here who participated. So now it's time for the breakout rooms to continue those conversations. Again, these are the CIA teams and the EDC initiatives that they'll be talking about today and, championing moving forward. So if you didn't give me a room preference, you've been randomly assigned to one. You can use the chat feature in the individual rooms to ask any questions you might have or participate in the discussion that way. Once I open the rooms, you'll be automatically moved and a 40-minute timer will begin. Note that this main meeting space will be used for the Planning and Environment CIA team. So if you signed up for either one of the topics they're covering, you're going to remain here. Once the time is up, you'll come back to this main room and we'll have our feature presentation on nighttime visibility for safety. So I'll go ahead and start opening the rooms now.
Sounds good.
All right, well, thanks everyone and welcome back. It sounds like there were some really good conversations happening that were sort of cut short. Sorry about that.
Amy is an excellent facilitator. Every time I go to a session with her, it's an excellent session.
Oh, good. Okay, we'll sign Amy up for a lot more then. Okay.
Gotta go. She's gonna do it, Amy. She's gonna hold her word there.
Okay, yeah, so that worked well. That was fun. I saw a lot of chats flying. I hopped into each of the rooms to make sure everything was going well. It looked like everything was really going well. I was able to assign people to rooms last minute, reassign people to different rooms. So everything seemed to work well with that. I hope everyone was able to have good conversations and continue those conversations from the EDC New Jersey Caucus. So thanks, everyone. So now it's time for our feature presentation, which is on nighttime visibility for safety. And first up, we have Managing Director Leanne Von Hagen and Project Coordinator Greg Woltman from the Voorhees Transportation Center at Rutgers University. So I'm going to go ahead and let them take it away.
Thanks so much, Brandy. I think looks like some people are coming back in too. I'm so excited you asked us to speak today. It was really nice to be invited. If you don't know me, my name's Leanne Von Hagen. I'm the Managing Director at the Voorhees Transportation Center at Rutgers. Among other projects, I oversee both the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center and the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center that are both funded with federal funds through Department of Transportation. My colleague Greg Woltman and I are excited to tell you about some new research that we're just kicking off that we're calling life-saving lighting. So I think it's going to be of real interest to a lot of people who've attended today. And basically, we're going to summarize some of the past work that has been done for the department identifying some of the challenges about improving safety at nighttime for vulnerable roadway users, and some of the information about the research that we've just kicked off that we're partnered with Rowan University on. And we have a colleague from Rowan University with us here today as well. So next slide. Just to make sure you've all heard of us, just in case you haven't, the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center is funded by the Department of Transportation. We're here to help transportation, health professionals, and other members of the public to create safer and more accessible places to walk, bicycle, or other micromobility devices. We focus on research, education, we hold trainings and workshops, we disseminate information to the public about best practices in policy and design. And I'd like to give a special shout out to the folks at the Bureau of Safety, Bicycle and Pedestrian Programs. That's Elise Bremernai, Bill Revere, Dan Lasanti, and others who we wouldn't have this project without them. So you can always come visit us at njbikeped.org. So our lighting research study, it's going to be conducted by my colleague Greg Waldman at the Voorhees Transportation Center. He's going to walk you through our plans today. And then next slide, like I mentioned, we are partnered with Rowan University. And unfortunately, Dr. Jalar is not available to join us today. It's Rutgers and Rowan's spring break, and he's taking much needed time off. But his graduate research assistant, Anahita Kahani, is here, who can also answer questions if needed. So at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Greg Woltman, who will give us some of the background and information on this topic. But I do want to give you a heads up. We have a small Menti poll at the end of this presentation, so be prepared to give us your thoughts and feedback. So thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Leanne. We wanted to start today with showing some examples of the issues that can arise with pedestrian visibility. Leanne took these pictures, and so in examples 1A and 1B here, we see a pedestrian crossing the street. It's the same pedestrian, and there are immediately a couple things that we can notice that may be problematic. If you didn't see the pedestrian, next slide. They are marked in the yellow arrow crossing the street, and we can see on the pedestrian is more visible in the picture on the right than on the left. And we can notice that there are actually 3 pedestrian scale lighting fixtures on this road that are just not working today. And it has made the street significantly less bright on the left-hand side than on the right-hand side. We'll go to the next example on the next slide, please. In these example photos, the pedestrian is crossing towards the left from the right to the left. And what can we notice here? Next slide. There is a street lamp directly above the pedestrian, but it is not effectively helping make the pedestrian visible. On the right side of the street is much dimmer than the left side, where there is this light coming from the bodega, which is illuminating the sidewalk and the crosswalk. So even though there's no ped scale lighting specifically at this intersection, the business is providing some of those effects. And on the other side, where there's actually a street lamp, there is not the sufficient amount of light to help make the pedestrian visible. Also, to add insult to injury, there is a truck that is parked illegally close to the crosswalk. So coming from the opposite direction, the view of the pedestrian is entirely blocked until they are already in the crosswalk or already in front of traffic. Next slide. So there are some takeaways from these examples. We can already consider the following things. We already know that number 1, crossing the street is already hard enough during the day when vehicles may not stop even if they are supposed to, be it because they're going faster than it can be to stop, they want to brake, or because they're just not seeing people anyway. 2, road lighting does not necessarily serve the needs of pedestrians. 3, illegal parking is not a lighting issue per se, but it is a compounding factor that contributes to poor pedestrian visibility. And 4, even in the same crosswalk, at the same intersection, pedestrian visibility can change many times based on lighting and obstruction to motorist views. This, I would say, is visibility of the pedestrian can change by the foot. Next slide, please. In 2007, VTC produced a report on pedestrian lighting in New Jersey. Lighting is and has been a challenge for pedestrian safety for a while. It has been a longstanding issue that municipalities need help designing, choosing, and implementing ped-scale lighting. This report recommends integrating pedestrian lighting considerations into all planning and design processes. It underscores this gap in expertise on the very technical details of pedestrian lighting in most local planning and public works departments across the state, and it identifies a lack of guidance on planning for pedestrian lighting. Next slide, please. After that, in I believe this is I don't remember what year it is, but there was a subject matter experts attending the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council, also known as BPAC, which we facilitate. In the safety subcommittee highlighted the need for a pedestrian scale lighting guide. This is a printout of a lot of the guide. It's a front and back guide if it were to be printed out. So there is a lot here to read that's not to be read right now, but it is available at njbikeped.org/safety if you want to look at it more, if you want to look at this more in depth. But the printout, and I can give you that link. But anyway, this printout provides a lot of things, a lot of information. And specifically, if you go to the next slide, it focuses on the factors to consider in designing pedestrian scale lighting. So that includes proximity, spacing, proximity to the right-of-way, and aiming of fixtures as some of the basic considerations. But this is, it doesn't really delve deeper than this. Next slide, please. Last year, VTC's postdoctoral researcher, Dr. Hannah Eunice, along with Dr. Robert Nolan, Leanne Von Hagen, shout out, and Sean Meehan, studied a broad set of factors that impacted fatality rates of crashes that involved one or more non-motorists in the state. Next slide, please. The research questions stem from the fact that crashes involving at least one non-motorist accounted for 1 in 3 fatal crashes in the state. Additionally, these crashes occur disproportionately often in underserved communities. They asked 3 research questions in this project. What is the relationship between non-motorist involved crashes, geocoded crashes, and low-income and minority communities? 2, where are the community hotspots? To answer this, they conducted a hotspot analysis of crashes in the state. And 3, what are the risk factors? To answer this, they conducted a regression analysis. Next slide, please. The crash data showed that a disproportionate number of bicycle and pedestrian involved crashes occurred in overburdened communities, defined as minority, low-income, and/or limited English communities. While these communities comprise 20% of the state's population, over 40% of crashes occurred in these communities. This table shows, among other things, that overburdened communities accounted for 29% of geocoded bike ped crashes involving dark conditions due to lack of lighting, and 44% of crashes where dark conditions were a factor in the crash despite streetlights being present. Next slide, please. The hotspot analysis showed that while urbanized North Jersey is the major hotspot for all bike ped crashes in the state, the hotspots for fatal bike ped crashes are in South Jersey, in the Camden area, as well as across the rural areas of the region. This suggests that while more bike ped crashes occur in more urban areas of the state, the rural crashes are where more of the crashes end up being fatal. Next slide, please. The research team also found that while that crashes were 6 to 7.5 times more likely to be fatal in dark conditions compared to daylight. And at night, a crash is twice as likely to be fatal if lighting is unavailable, broken, or off. The results of this research was peer-reviewed and accepted for publication. Due out sometime between April and July of this year. Please let us know if you would like to receive a copy of the publication when it is made available. Next slide, please. This brings us to our current research task, a combined effort between Rutgers VTC and Rowan University. We are going to conduct a lit review to produce a lighting design guide with the intent of demystifying the lighting design process. We want to bring attention to the needs of vulnerable road users and make it easy for planners and engineers to design lighting that keeps them safe. We intend to incorporate a lot of figures, pictures, and graphics as a means of clarifying some very technical aspects of design lighting, or of lighting design. Our project is specifically oriented towards local jurisdictions, mainly municipalities and counties. We are open to feedback and comments from everyone else in this meeting on how we can make this the most effective document for municipalities. What do you think we need to focus on so that they can incorporate safe lighting designs into their streetscapes? On the next slide, we have a Menti poll. This number is no longer accurate. It got redefined, but I have a link for it that I posted in chat. If you click on this link, it'll take you to a Menti question that you can answer. What should we focus on to help municipalities incorporate safe lighting for vulnerable road users, VRUs? And when we speak of VRUs, we are talking about people who walk, bicycle, use scooters, wheelchairs, and other mobility devices along and across roadways.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, please click the link in chat to vote and let us know what if you've got any thoughts on places we should focus our research effort on. Really appreciated. And I see if I got a couple answers.
Leanne, while we're taking
Yeah.
a little pause here, I have a question. In the data that he presented as far as the bike ped crashes, did you analyze that from the roadway type? What type of facilities, what type of posted speed? Are we looking at, arterials? Are we looking at local roads? Do we have a sense as to the facilities that this is happening on?
Yeah, as you might have guessed, that was a really shortened couple slides from a much longer presentation. So yes, those factors were included, and so we can share the journal article with you and also a couple slides from a previous presentation. In fact,
Okay.
we have the previous presentation posted. It was part of DOT Research Showcase last fall. So I can send you, I can actually post a link in chat if you'd like to see the full presentation.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, we definitely, it was definitely interesting when, and unfortunate when South Jersey and the rural areas, the correlation to lack of lighting was really a major factor. What's I think also interesting in that research study we did is, if you're not aware, DVRPC has a data set now of all sidewalks and crosswalks, and more. So it's just, so we did a sort of a call out in the DVRPC for county regions in New Jersey, so we could overlay that new exciting data for us, and really did show just how much of this, the pedestrian fatality and bicycle fatality issues were in low income, minority, overburdened income areas. So I don't know, Brandy, can I share my screen to show the Menti poll results?
You sure can.
All right, let me do that now. I see there's definitely some answers coming in.
For anyone who, sorry, Leanne,
Sure.
for anyone who was having trouble with the direct link, you can go to menti.com and the code is 27519845, which I put in the chat and is also on the screen right now.
So just a few of the answers that we're seeing. I know, like number one, where's the money? I love that. Amy Kaminsky had a poll in our breakout group in which she wrote, "Show me the money." That's so very true, right? That's always a number one. Providing utility service, design assistance. Municipalities will likely find information about cost and available funding, installation, and ongoing cost. Pedestrian scale lighting on sidewalks, pathway lighting for shared use facility. That's a good one. Utility coordination. When we've reached out to municipalities in particular, there is more resources needed around coordinating with utilities and getting that done in a timely manner. I think one of the things we didn't point out, but we can talk about that just happened recently is whenever we have daylight saving time beginning or ending, we have an increase that following week in I think in all crashes, but in particularly pedestrian fatalities. So when the utilities are out and we know daylight savings coming, there might be a way to coordinate better maintenance in preparation. Might be something we should think about.
I'll add to that, Leanne, I think
Yeah.
New York, I was during daylight savings time, like New York City, I was watching on the news. This is a while ago. This is like, not this past weekend, but some months ago. The New York City takes that very, very serious with enforcement. They have they round up all the high level, I guess, I don't know, chiefs or whatever, but they have a whole room assembled, which was packed per the news clip on, making sure, they have people out there at their traffic signals. That's just New York City. So that's like, they're actually taking it on with enforcement as well. So, which was interesting. So.
Yeah. And, we know many municipalities in New Jersey, the maintenance is really a struggle. I like this idea of low maintenance solutions. What are low maintenance solutions are helpful. I think, the municipalities are the ones that get the phone call first when there's a problem, or the, angry people coming to meetings. Or are, often noticing it in areas they know are high potential for crash risks. And so, they want to be on top of things, but there is often a lag time between noticing the problem and being able to address it through the utility companies. So maybe there are some low maintenance solutions that are more immediate that don't require the higher level of coordination required. That's a really good point. I like this. Equity should be considered as a high priority. I 100% agree. Change the standard specification. Will not be complete as a separate project, but should be mainstream as a standard practice on all projects. I think, often our goal with the safe system approach is to create that system, right? So to make it a multidisciplinary approach so that everybody's on the same page and it's part of the system and not a one-off problem that has to be identified and taken care of bit by bit. I don't know if anybody else saw any comments or wanted to say anything based on what you've put into Mentipoll. I really thank you for your comments. We're going to take them back and share them with our colleagues at Rowan to use this as guiding to what we're going to look into on our lit review and what we should be outlining for the full study and guide.
I thought I just saw Jennifer's hand go up. Jennifer Marandino.
I did, and then somehow it went down. Thank you. What I wanted to just share is that we are working with GPI consultant team. They are doing our countywide local road safety plans. So they're collecting an obscene amount of data. And some of that will include sidewalks and things of that nature. And then I think also in our area, probably we're definitely more rural than what you're showing up in North Jersey. So the speed limit and it's probably just the shoulder width is probably another important factor that you'll want to look at as well.
Yeah. In the same study that had this Hannah Eunice's study from last year, one of the other major things, in addition to lack of lighting or sufficient lighting, was lack of sidewalk. So people in the shoulder and the shoulder width.
Right. This is an interesting comment, how vulnerable communities are going to pay the electric bill. I think that's a really good question, and we've heard that a number of times too. But things like LED lights that aren't as energy intensive hopefully counteract that, cost. But we've heard from many municipalities, who are lower income, sometimes the money's not there to do what they want to do. All right, I'll stop sharing the screen.
Is there any of the incentive programs that the electric companies are offering? So I know it won't be for poles that are owned by electric company, but if there are municipal poles, there is some incentives for installation of LED and things of that nature. So that'll be interesting to be shared as well.
Yeah, Jennifer, along those lines, that is excellent. I was actually typing the phone companies are always looking for infrastructure that other people own, and because they want to install their devices, especially with the G5 and what have you. So that would be an excellent idea if they could own some of those poles or share the cost of installing the pole. Phone companies, they're looking for that, especially in extremely rural areas. I'm sorry, urban as well as rural areas.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard the angle on like the phone companies and their interest in would they be co-owners? So if that phone post or electric post fell, they would both be in charge of
Okay, so you just spoke the hornet's nest.
Sorry.
That is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't want to go down that path, but you're right. That's just the tip of the iceberg. That if there's cost sharing, they're looking for infrastructure to hang their antennas.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, I think it was Amy or somebody asking, "Where's the money? Show me the money," and what have you. Well, these are some out of the box ideas. So if someone wants to reach out to them and say, yeah, you know what, we could work all of the above, co-ownership for maintenance, co-ownership for whatever.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's an intriguing idea, so we'll definitely add it to the list. Well, that's all we have for our presentation. Thank you all for your feedback. It's greatly appreciated. And I believe especially if you're involved in the safety part of this EDC-7 initiative, we'll be giving some updates in the future. So stay tuned. I don't know, Anahita, did you want to say hello or any last things before we turn it over to Taru?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Anahita Kalkhani, and I'm Dr. Jallar's graduate student, and I'm working on this project. I'm collecting the literature review and preparing a guideline for street lights specifically for pedestrian and bicyclists to improve their safety. And that's it.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
So thank you. If you caught it, that's our contact information. I'll put it in chat as well. So if you've got anything else to follow up with, we'd love to hear from you. I'll also put my own our staff email in here too. If you want to just follow up with myself or Greg individually, that's fine as well. And we'll turn it over to Taru.
Well, I'll just say thank you, Leanne and Greg, for that presentation. That was really wonderful. And if anyone has questions or anything, you could pop them in the chat because we'll be monitoring that. But we'll also do some questions and answers at the end as well. So now we have our other feature presentation, Charu Jigan and Andre Tarantiv from NJDOT's Bureau of Traffic Engineering.
Thank you, Brandy. Hello, everyone. I'm Charu Jigan from DOT Bureau of Engineering. Along with Andre, will explain the various safety countermeasures for nighttime visibility practiced by DOT. Brandy, the first slide. Roadway lighting increases visibility, not only for the drivers, but also for all the other road users. DOT has been installing LED luminaires on state highways for the last couple of years. Research conducted by various agencies, we found that high pressure sodium luminaires, which has been the conventional type, which operate typically at 2100 Kelvin, does not produce the same level of visibility, the white light that LED luminaires produce, which operate between 4000 to 5000 K. Another countermeasure is the ADA accessibility for all the pedestrians. DOT uses the PROVAG audible push buttons that follow MUTCD standards for push button reach, the location of the push button, and then the voice command from the push button directs the pedestrian to the crosswalk, and the pedestrian signal, the pedestrian signal head, they are placed so they can be seen clearly from the crosswalk. Another measure, countermeasure, as we've been discussing, is the backplates on traffic signal heads. So any new installation that goes on steel poles are retrofitted with black backplates with retroreflective tape. So in dark conditions, these retroreflective markings on backplates improve the visibility of signal heads. In general, retroreflective pavement markings, signs, they'll delineate the roadway alignment and improve the visibility on the decision-making points like the intersections, the exit ramps, crosswalks, and such. So they can be seen from a greater distance. RRFBs have been a couple of more. RRFBs, we've been installing a lot of RRFBs. They are the rectangular rapid flashing beacons that are installed at crosswalks. They are pedestrian actuated, have warning signs. They improve the safety for pedestrian crossings in the roadway. This enhances the pedestrian conspicuity and increases driver awareness at uncontrolled and marked crosswalks. The lighting is also provided for these crosswalks, and there is one thing DOT has been evaluating and doing research on is the vertical illumination, which we'll go in detail in the later slides. Next slide, Brandy. Pedestrian safety countermeasures. DOT has implemented many pedestrian safety countermeasures like the high visibility crosswalks, as mentioned earlier, installing RFBs at marked crosswalks. They have the retroreflective warning signs. They make them highly visible at night. There has been research on RRFB safety benefits that has proven reduction in the crashes up to 47%, and also not to mention the benefit cost ratio, the high benefit cost ratio on the installation of RRFBs. Also, as per DOT's roadway design manual, all the signalized intersections and crosswalks are illuminated, and most of the crosswalks, we go with the warranting conditions and they are illuminated as well. Other pedestrian improvements include the ADA push buttons that we discussed before, touchless push buttons. As the name indicates, the push button gets activated just by waving the hand at the push buttons. Passive pet detection or the automatic pet detection. They are being deployed at a couple of locations using cameras. They mark the pedestrian zones and they're activated when the pedestrian is in that zone. Another countermeasure is the LPI or the lead pedestrian interval. This gives the pedestrian opportunity to enter the crosswalk at least 3 to 7 seconds before the vehicles are given a green indication. This way, the ped can better establish their presence in the crosswalk before the vehicles are, they either make the turns, left or the right turns. This increases the visibility of the ped to the motorist. The motorist can yield to the pedestrian, and thus the conflict is reduced here. Next slide, please. Lighting. Lighting is a major role in the nighttime visibility for both pedestrians and motorists. Roadway lighting, as I said before, has dramatically changed in the last decade, which used to be the conventional high-intensity discharged sodium, high-pressure sodium lights, mercury vapor luminaires. Now it's the solid-state lighting, the LEDs. All new installation on state highway the last couple of years have been LEDs, and LEDs, they can operate at 4,000 K or 5,000. DOT typically utilizes luminaires that operate at 4,000 K, which is a compromise between the too bright and the high pressure sodium that operates at 2,100 K. LEDs, many of us know, have or use less energy. They have longer life, and hence the maintenance is easier. They also can be dimmed or brightened to a certain extent, and this feature is useful for adaptive lighting, which we mostly use for tunnels. LEDs also have a better photometric performance, broader spectrum compared to hypersodium, and also they have a better positive contrast, and hence they are much more suited for street lighting and highways and interchanges. Vertical lighting, as discussed before, is something DOT is doing some research on for crosswalks where the pedestrian traffic is heavy, and we can discuss this more in the next slide. Andre will continue on this one.
Thank you, Charu. Yeah, next slide, please. So vertical lighting, what is it? It is it's the light that falls onto a vertical surface. Instead of the typical roadway surface that we do at all signalized intersections, this one requires the use of two lighting lighting luminaires, one on each approach, and it'll basically allow each oncoming vehicle to detect a pedestrian or a bicyclist more easily. And we tried to implement it on some intersections, and we're evaluating its performance right now. So that's something we started doing recently. Next slide, please. Some other improvements we've made is that we've added traffic signal heads for each lane approach for better visibility. We increased the size of the modules to 12 inches, and we have started to install backplates on all steel mast arms and retrofit existing installations that have steel poles and mast arms already. We found that having a retroreflective border, it makes them a lot more visible at night, and that's what we've been doing. Now and we also added the touchless and motion activated audible pedestrian push buttons. Next slide, please. We're always looking to improve, and we do have a lot of challenges with backplate implementation. One, it's accessing existing signal heads. We need to pretty much close down each lane that we need to add these to. The structural limitations, we cannot install them on aluminum poles due to wind load. The LED challenges we have is that it's hard to have a one-to-one replacement on a lot of high wattage luminaires that we have at a 40-foot height. They don't provide the same. We basically need to propose extra poles to replace one high-pressure sodium due to how far apart they're spaced out. Vertical lighting is another challenge because we have a lack of lighting sources, whether it's right-of-way issues where we can't install NJ-DOT-owned poles, and we need to coordinate with utility to provide extra poles at these unsignalized intersections to provide the light on each approach to be able to do vertical lighting. And the lack of lighting at unsignalized intersections in general, we do rely on utilities to install those lights, and it has very high installation costs. And that is all for some of the steps NJ-DOT has taken to improve nighttime visibility. And thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charu and Andre and Leanne and Greg for those excellent presentations. I saw Leanne and Greg put their contact information, the BikePed website in the chat, and also a link to the research done by Hannah Younes that Andy and I were able to see at the research showcase last year. So thank you to all of our presenters. So now for a quick reminder, or some quick reminders and announcements before we adjourn. As always, don't forget about our tech transfer website. And we have a dedicated STIC page there where you can find all of our business articles, meetings, recordings, summaries, and all that good stuff here on this website. And I also want to mention that this year's Design Summit, which is May 17th, will have a theme of innovation. So Federal Highway will be talking about the Everyday Counts program and federal resources for innovation. And I'll be talking about our STIC. And DOT staff will showcase some innovative projects and initiatives. And we also plan on capitalizing on this opportunity to gather and share information about the EDC-7 initiatives that New Jersey will be advancing. This will be done through both an interactive discussion panel and through the distribution of QR-coded surveys. And we still have STIC incentive funding on the table, and we need your help in identifying projects to utilize this funding. As a reminder, we get $100,000 a year, and we ask that all of our STIC network members and friends work to push these grant opportunities through your networks. The link here has all the resources you need to get started, but if you have any questions about the program, just feel free to contact me. And the Build a Better Mousetrap competition is currently underway. For the first time this year, state agencies can submit entries to the national competition as long as the innovation can be implemented locally. So if you have found a way to work more efficiently, create a safer environment, or figured out a cost-effective method to achieve the same end result, submit your idea today for statewide and national recognition. The deadline for this competition is May 1st, and you can find guidance and download the entry form at the website linked here. So that's it for me, but I'm going to turn it over to Mike for final comments. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brandy. Now, I've got not a whole lot to add to that. You did a fantastic job once again. I'm looking at the head count. We have currently 74 participants. Participation in these events is fantastic. I just like to thank Andre and Sharu for your presentation, as well as Leanne, Greg, and Anahita for your presentations as well. Another job well done. This was a fantastic session. The breakout group that I went to was also very well done. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody who's contributed and who's played a role in these sessions. That's it for me. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.